The movie began with a loud chattering of glass and a woman breathing heavily in an hotel room. She closed the window, called out for help, as there is a body lying lifelessly on the floor. She dragged out her purse from underneath the body and dialed a number, but at first, the call didn't go through. However, soon after, her phone rang and a man named Clooney was on the other end. He asked how she got the number. She told him, and he gave her instructions and then told her not to do anything until he got there. He then drove to the hotel. On his way, he took a cart. Once he was there, he located her room and knocked on her door using the signature knock he told her, and she went on to open the door. As he was entering, he asked her if she had any kind of communication with anyone. She said no and began crying. Clooney walked to her and told her he wants her to go back home to her daughters. But just then she asked him if he could make all of this disappear without traces, as the young boy was high on things and accidentally slipped, which landed him on the glass center table, killing him instantly. He said yes and told her that was why she called him. He wore his glove and checked the body, but unfortunately for them, they heard a soft knock on the door. So Clooney asked her to say hello. Then she did so, but another man named Nick entered as they hid in different places. As he entered, he cleared his throat and they both came out. The woman then asked Nick who he was, so he said he was here to take care of a problem, and immediately showed them a hidden CCTV camera. The hotel then called, so Nick gave the phone to the woman. She went to the restroom to answer the call. The woman came out of the bathroom and kept the phone on loudspeaker. The lady on the other end of the call introduced herself as Pamela Dowdherdry, who is the owner of the hotel, which is very new, very expensive, and she has a clear vested interest in minimizing any sort of controversy associated with it. She later decided that the two men should work together. Clooney then told the lady he needs to know everything she did tonight and asked her to sit down. She sat down and narrated all that had happened. As soon as she was done, they insisted that she leaves. She freshened up and was given some clothes. Then she left. As Clooney was about wrapping the body, he saw Nick sitting and drinking soda. He asked him what he was doing and said his job was just to supervise and not to allow any of this be linked to the hotel name. Clooney left and started cleaning up. He wrapped the body. Later on, Nick saw a bag, opened it. In shock, he screamed loud. Clooney went to him and then opened the bag and said he was also shocked by this, as they were a stack of drugs. A call then came in, and it was Pamela. She told them they will have to find out who those drugs belong to and return it. Then she hung up the call. Clooney wrapped the body in the cart, and then they went down to the parking garage. On getting there, Nick disconnected the wire of the parking garage because it is on a different security system. Clooney head out and brought his vehicle into the garage. He then kept the body inside his car boot and then told Nick they wiped the tape. He believes Nick Boss might eventually use it against the woman as leverage for blackmail, but Nick refuses, so as they were arguing, the young boy in the boot opened the boot and began breathing loudly. One of the security guard almost saw him, but the two guys were fast enough to close the boot. They blamed each other for not checking the guy's pulse and kept on arguing. Afterward, Nick thinks it's a good thing the guy isn't dead and he would be of help to them in knowing who owns the drug. They both drove to Chinatown. On their way, Clooney had a conversation about the Albanians. They got to their destination. Nick came out of the car and went to a nearby house, rang the doorbell, and told his friend everything. They took her to the boot and showed her the guy. The two then carried him into her store, so she checked his eyes and asked them if they knew what he took. They both informed her they have no idea. They kept on talking, so she insisted that they both get out, and which they did so. The two began to discuss about the lady when all of a sudden, the guy ran out of the store where the lady was treating him. She asked them to stop him. They ran after him as he just kept on running. They eventually caught him and then drove back to the lady's house. She didn't want to open the door at first, but later she talked through the window. She threw some medication to help their situation and gave some instructions on how they use it on the teenager. They gave the teenager some clothes to wear and then went into an hotel. They got to the room and immediately questioned him on who owns the drugs he was carrying. The teenager claims he does not know anything about the drugs. Nick and Clooney then decided to go put fear on the teenager by threatening to hit him. The young man then informed them on who owned them, as they are called Lagrange, who is probably one of the biggest drugs cartel. He explained to them that he got them from his friend named Diego, who was supposed to deliver it at a drop, but his mother died, so he just decided to help his friend to deliver it. They asked for the address of the drop. He said he doesn't know, and they asked him where his phone was, and he told them he hid it, and then they asked him how he was going to get the address of the drop if he wasn't with his phone. He said the pager. He told them Diego left the pager in the club where he works. They drove to the club. On getting there, they saw a man named Dimitri, whom they have both worked for in the past, and if the man saw them, he won't hesitate to kill them both. They agreed to keep the drug and all go in and not leave sight of anyone. They entered inside the club. The boy went behind the bar for the pager, but as he was about leaving, the bouncers carried him out of the club. The guys noticed their boss already saw them, so they decided to fake a fight and act like they don't know each other. Nick then angrily left. Dimitri asked the Clooney to stay for the party, but he told him he have a job to do, and told Dimitri congratulations on his daughter's wedding before leaving. George Clooney went outside and saw the teenager. The boy showed him the pager. They drove to a restaurant to have something to eat while the boy tried having some conversations with him. They planned on who make the drops once they got to their destination, because they are both certain that the kid might get shot at if he eventually make the drops. Anyways, they drove to their destination and watched as the teenager went in to make his delivery. Suddenly, Dimitri men came in numbers into the site and began shooting at Clooney and Nick and walked angrily toward them, as they already figured out that Nick and Clooney are not wolves but buddies. They managed to kill some of Dimitri men and then went inside the building, where they found out that all who went in were already dead. The teenage boy came out of the boot where he hid while they were shooting. Clooney asked the boy to finish the job he came here for, as the boy was looking for who was in charge. Clooney cocked his gun and pointed it at the teenage boy, while Nick was pointing his at Clooney. Clooney rethink about his decision and had a change of mind, but just then, Nick shoot his gun, but the bullet was targeted at the packaged drugs. The scene then shifted to as they both head back home by using the subway. They took the young boy home and informed him on what to say, or else they rethink their decision on spearing him, and then flip a coin to see who's going to kill him first and who's going to kill his dad later. The young boy's father served them a tea as soon as they were done. They both head out. The next day, Clooney and Nick then went to a nearby restaurant for a breakfast. Afterwards, as Clooney was leaving, he asked Nick who employed him, and the two began to figure out that it was all a setup, as the two was actually getting framed for all the shooting and death that happened during the drugs delivery. Soon after, they saw more of Dimitri men that were sent to kill them. They lowered their head as they set their gun. A battle began, and the movie then came to an end. Kindly subscribe for more if you enjoy recap like this. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.